Get your ears wrapped around the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. All the scoop you need to know, from college basketball to the NBA and even March Madness. News of your rising stars, topics on and off the hardwood. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast.
Welcome to the GSMC Basketball Podcast. We are brought to you by adamandeve.com. Go to adamandeve.com, and for a limited time only, you'll get 50% off just about any item using promo code HOOP. Again, go to adamandeve.com. For a limited time only, you'll get 50% off just about any item using the promo code HOOP. This is the GSMC Basketball Podcast, brought to you by your host, Ryan Rich. Today, I'm going to get into basically what happened last night. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Warriors being incredibly bored, and we're going to talk about the Lebron milestone because you can never get tired of those. So last night, we had the Pacers match up against the Kings, and guess what happened? I'm sure you guys can pretty much figure out what happened with that. The Kings went ahead and took their sixth loss. The Pacers seem to be doing okay without Paul George. Right now, they're 4-3. Leading the Pacers scorers was Bojan Bogdanovic. He had 12. I could imagine that game wasn't the most exciting game. I mean, again, the highest scorer on the Kings was Zebo. So Zebo's in, I believe, his 16th, 17th season. He had 12 buckets. So the Kings project is still going to be something that is probably going to take a little bit of while. I mean, I believe De'Aaron Fox looked like he had about 10 points last night. So again, the Kings are a work in progress. Can't really hold them against that. They did move Boogie Cousins out of there, so that released some salary cap room. I'm going to assume they'll be making some more moves going forward. A game that was a little bit better last night, we had the Nets go up against the Suns. The Suns took that game 122 over 114. It was a solid matchup. Booker, a.k.a. Buckets, he went for 32. You know your mans who had 70 points last season. And D'Angelo Russell had 33. D'Angelo Russell's been playing great since he left the Lakers. He's been averaging about 20 points. And he's looking really, really good. Surprisingly, since the Suns fired Earl Watson and hired Jay Triano, they've been 3-1, which is solid. Players say they appreciate him because he keeps it direct. He's pretty blunt. He doesn't really sugarcoat stuff, which is a good way to keep a locker room. I'm usually, when coaches are pretty passive aggressive and talk behind players' backs, they're not really direct and they hold stuff in until things blow up. That's when they can lose a locker room. But when you show up somewhere and just speak directly to players, it seems like they tend to respect that. They're adults. So not that I've coached anything ever. That's just based on what it looks like is going on from the outside in. We had the Thunder against the Bucks last night. The Thunder went ahead and gave them boys 19 buckets. Thunder slapped them 110-91, which was, I would say, it was a good matchup for the future MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo. Westbrook flirted with a triple-double. He had 12 points, 9 assists, and 10 rebounds. And that man Melo had 17 and PG had 20. It looks like the OKC experiment is actually going pretty well. If Westbrook is distributing the rock like that, flirting with triple doubles, doing triple double things, and still getting the ball to these other players, these future Hall of Famers like Melo and PG, I mean, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. And they still got Steven Adams, which is a force down low. He'll give you a nice little double-double, more than likely 10 rebounds and like 9 points. But they're a force to be reckoned with. I'm actually surprised by how good they're looking. I mean, Westbrook is balling. It seems like him playing with Durant and then not having Durant and then having two Hall of Famers. It seems like that's something that will really make you realize you had something that was pretty awesome and then you lost it. Kind of like the whole Lonzo thing. Like with Lonzo, people felt like, oh, well, Beverly put him in his place. Beverly shut him down. Going against Patrick Beverly in your opening game is the best thing to ever happen to you. You want to know why? Because your first NBA experience is the best defensive player in the NBA guarding you. No one's ever going to guard him like that again. Versus if you went up against, let's say, James Harden. If the first person to guard you in your NBA career is James Harden, you're like, oh my God, this is pretty solid. Then you play Patrick Beverley a month later and you're like, oh, people play defense. But to go against Patrick Beverley, that's why the next game after that, Lonzo had like 30 buckets. Because like, whoa, there's not a guy holding my waistband and biting my ear as I'm trying to score every bucket. No, it's only going to happen once in a while. So I think Westbrook probably losing Durant was the best thing that ever happened to Westbrook. And Westbrook's like, wow, like if I had somebody that could make a shot when I gave him the ball, I could probably make it out of the first round of the playoffs. So, I mean, more power to OKC. I know a lot of OKC fans jumped off the bandwagon when Durant left, and it seems like some of those bandwagon jumpers are getting back, are trying to stop at that bus stop to get back on that bandwagon. The Lakers beat the Pistons 113-93 last night. To lead the scorers was Larry Nance with 14, and the Pistons leader was Tobias Harris with 18 buckets. Lonzo Ball had 13, 3, and 6. Not a triple-double, which I hate using the word triple-double so much because it's beginning to sound like it's the qualifier for whether or not you have a good game. I think those are solid stats for a point guard. 13, 6 assists, and 3. I mean, it seems like you have the ball and you're distributing it just enough, for things to make sense. The Lakers are actually looking pretty solid. It's been a running joke that they're gonna make the playoffs, but I seriously believe that they have the capability to do it. I mean, the West is 100% stacked, but based on injuries and weird things happening and the NBA pushing buttons so the Lakers can somehow be good again, I wouldn't be surprised if the Lakers snuck their way in. I mean, they're in the 11th seed right now, and the way the NBA is looking in the West, I'm not sure if a lot of these standings are going to remain the same. Like, you got the Warriors in 4th. The Grizzlies are in 1st right now. The Grizzlies have usually been a solid squad. However, I think this might be the year that they may fall out the playoffs. It sounds crazy, again, because they're in the 1st right now. But based on the way things are going to shake out, like even with OKC being in the 8th seed, I think OKC is going to end more around 4th. So just with movement and things not correctly falling together right, and again, the NBA pushing buttons and Magic Johnson, his nickname being Magic, I think the Lakers might actually find a way to sneak in there. Let me jump back to the Warriors being in 4th place. I think I might have buried the lead right there. I know some people that probably don't keep up with the standings, they may not have known the Warriors were in 4th place. They heard the Warriors were in 4th place. They're like, oh my God, the sky's falling. What are we going to do? The Warriors in 4th place. What's going to happen now? Oh no, somebody call the Coast Guard. Don't worry about it. Luckily, they have Steve Kerr as a coach, and Steve Kerr being somebody that understands what it's like to basically win all the time just because he played with MJ and Phil Jackson and Scottie Pippen and Tim Duncan and Greg Popovich and was a GM of the Suns when the Suns were the actual Suns. He made it really, really clear that the 1997-1998 year, Michael Jordan's retirement year, Michael Jordan's like last year on the Bulls, he said they were fried. Why? Because they had just won 2 consecutive championships. He said that they as a team were just completely exhausted. I think that people forget, us outsiders forget, even, probably players that don't make the playoffs or don't win championships forget that some people's season ends in April, but when you're in the finals, like you're playing until June. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say that I feel like a lot of athletes might feel differently after they win their first championship, let alone their second. So it may seem like the regular season doesn't really seem that important or that challenging because they know that the real time is when they get to the playoffs. So a lot of teams are just trying to make it in the playoffs. I talked about the Lakers earlier. Like a lot of teams would just be happy with that 8th seed berth. Like, hooray, we're back in the playoffs. It's going to be a big deal. The Lakers were happy that they won D-League this summer. So, we all have our own different goals and situations where we all celebrate our own different accomplishments. However, if you've won 2 championships in 3 years and stupid things happen in the regular seasons, like injuries and buttons being pushed and suspensions and things I talked about earlier, if you know those things are happening, it's mentally you're probably getting the space where you probably just want to skip the whole regular season. So are they bored? Probably. Are they still competitive? Absolutely. Are they still the best team in the league? Absolutely. The questions are only being asked because they're 5-3. But they still went down to LA and put on the show in the Clippers arena like they usually do. Smacked the Clippers 141-113 on the night of the 30th. So as far as the questions being asked, those are primarily about their record, when realistically everybody knows that the Warriors are definitely the team to attempt to beat in the NBA. I mean, you got Steph Curry averaging 20 plus. You got Durant averaging 20 plus. I believe it's more or less maybe us being bored and having to talk about something rather than us saying, are the Warriors bored? Because really, when it comes down to it, what more do we want them to do? Do we really want them to try to go 73-9 again and lose in the finals, or Steph Curry get hurt by going so hard in the regular season that he hurts himself in the playoffs? No. For all I care, they can just bench everybody and let Nick Young start, let Sean Livingston start, and just run it. I mean, let the whole bench start for 10 straight games if you want. All that matters is they make it to the playoffs and do what they need to do. A while ago, Phil Jackson and Shaq used to do this, where they would say that Shaq was hurt. He had like a calf injury or like a back thing or whatnot. And it seemed like Shaq wouldn't play from like Christmas until Easter. And suddenly playoffs start cracking, and Shaq has like a 60-inch vertical, and Shaq has Hakeem Olajuwon moves right after this alleged injury that he used to have. So, I mean, I'm all for it. I guess that would take us into our recent NBA change in the rule with the resting players. And Greg Popovich just said that he doesn't know how they're going to regulate this whole, do you know if you're resting a marquee player? How do you actually decide if that person is a marquee player? Which I completely agree with, because who's the NBA to say, well, you know what, you rested Kawhi Leonard, so you got to pay this fine, or you rested Ginobili, you got to pay this fine. So is Ginobili marquee? If you were marquee, can you be marquee now? Like, if you were ever marquee, do you still continue to be marquee going forward? Like, if the Kings rest Vince Carter, does that mean they get fined because Vince Carter used to be Air Canada? So I just wonder how they're going to regulate it. I guess it's more or less a rule. I guess it's a spirit of the law type of thing, where it's like, hey, it's okay if you rest them, but, just don't rest them on like a Friday night when it's the only game on TV, which I can understand and I don't really understand, because really you don't really have a guarantee that anyone's going to play if you do go. I do believe, though, personally, that players should be able to rest on road games, I think, because if you're a season ticket holder and you buy your home tickets because you're a fan of that team. Presumably, right? Like, so you're buying those tickets because, hey, I want to go see the Kings play. I want to go see the Kings. So like, hey, if I go, I want to see De'Aaron Fox play. You're not guaranteed to see LeBron play because you bought season tickets for like the Cavs. But the problem with the NBA is they sell these packages where you get to see, you get to watch the Cavs and OKC and the Warriors. So that package costs more than the package that's like the Pistons, the Magic, and the Suns. So if they're going to sell you that package with OKC, the Warriors, and the Pelicans, and you buy that package, and DeMarcus, Ant Davis, none of the Warriors, just because they're all stars, and then none of OKC plays, then it's kind of an out hustle. You don't get to watch any of the stars. So if you buy the package and you don't get to watch the dope players play, then it's like they sold you a Jordan shoebox and there's no Jordans in it. You just open it up and there's like one flip-flop and some popcorn seeds in there. Not even real popcorn, just the seeds. What are you going to do with that? So I get where the fans are coming from. I get where the NBA is coming from. We're going to go to our first commercial break. We got to pay some bills. I appreciate if you guys hang out with me. I will be right back. Are you looking to spice things up in the bedroom? Been fantasizing about surprising your lover with an adventurous new toy or adult movie? Well, here's an offer you won't be able to resist. Go to adameve.com. For a limited time only, you'll get 50% off just about any item. But that's not all. Oh, no. When you select your one item at 50% off, you'll also receive 3 free adult DVDs for, a little inspiration. Plus, a free extra gift so sensual, I can't mention it on the radio. And to top it all off, they'll even throw in free shipping with your entire order. And no, they're not kidding. So check out adamandeve.com today for this special offer. Get 50% off one item when you type HOOP for the offer code upon checkout. When you do, you'll get 3 free DVDs, a free extra gift, and free shipping. Just use the offer code HOOP at adamandeve.com. That's right, HOOP, HOOP at adamandeve.com. Welcome back to the GSMC Basketball Podcast, brought to you by adamandeve.com. Go to adamandeve.com. For a limited time only, you'll get 50% off just about any item with promo code HOOP, HOOP. Welcome back. So I wanted to give you guys a little update on a free agent situation. Jahlil Okafor, I'm not sure if you guys remember him, he was drafted 3rd overall from the 2015 draft. He was part of the whole 76ers trust the process thing they had going on and currently do have going on. If you're unfamiliar with this process, the 76ers have decided to go ahead and tank multiple games to get the best picks possible or the highest possible picks in the draft. They've basically decided to just take unlimited L's and try to build a super team through the actual draft. Since Jahlil Okafor was drafted, he hasn't really been living up to the Sixers' expectations, and he suffered a few different type of injuries. The interesting thing is, if you're on a team that's tanking games on purpose, how well would you expect someone to play? Again, he's 3rd pick overall of the 2015 draft from Duke. And I mean, usually Duke players, they usually show up. They have a high level of discipline. They're players that know the game pretty well, high basketball IQ, great character individuals. So that's what the Duke scouting report says for every draft pick ever taken from Duke. I'm exaggerating. But if you're someone that's played for an excellent organization such as Duke, and you get drafted by a team that's purposely trying to lose games, I mean, how discouraging is that? I'm going to say Kyrie Irving would be a perfect example. After LeBron left, Kyrie Irving was the 1st overall pick of the 2011 draft. So he was playing for the Cavs. The Cavs weren't purposely trying to lose games, but they were very, very bad. They were so bad that they kept getting 1st round picks like while Kyrie Irving was there. So how does that feel? You leave somewhere that's like, I don't know, one of the highest ranked basketball universities ever, and you go to somewhere that's trying to lose games on purpose. So I can't really blame Jahlil Okafor, especially a lot of these players have been victims of the 76ers trust the process. Nerlens Noel was drafted in the 2013 draft, and he got hurt. Well, he was drafted with a slight injury, to be fair, and then he got hurt playing on the Sixers, and he got shipped out. So it's interesting that players aren't living up to their expectations while playing on a team that's like purposely trying to tank games. Luckily for Jahlil Okafor, it looks like the 76ers aren't going to attempt to re-sign him going into the summer of 2018. So he will be a free agent. It looks like he will get another shot. I hope he does another shot. He's solid. He's 6'11", 260. I know there's a lot of just big men out there. However, he's a skilled big man. He's got some, I'm not going to say some Hakeem Olajuwon in him, but he's got some solid footwork. So I do hope that he gets another shot. I can't really say I completely agree with the 76er strategy of just tanking games on purpose. It's almost like in any other sport that's looked down upon if you're losing games on purpose. The irony is that the NBA is actually finding, I talked about this last segment, in case you weren't here, I talked about how this season they recently decided to go ahead and have a policy about resting players because it's not putting the best product on the floor for the fans, and fans are buying packages and expecting stars to play that aren't necessarily playing those games. However, it's okay for a team to blatantly tell the organization, the NBA, and tell the fans and the shareholders that they're going to tank games on purpose. They're just going to lose. They're not going to do anything in free agency. They're not going to try to sign any Kevin Durant's or any LeBrons or any I guess mid-level players to try to actually build something. They're going to just keep losing games on purpose and expecting to get high picks. The only problem is the draft isn't a specific science. It's a great tool for you to go ahead and add a player here or there, or particularly start a franchise. But if you think you're going to build a whole dynasty through the draft by purposely losing and getting the best pick every time, I think you might be mistaken. Some of these teams that have gotten consecutive like really awesome players through the drafts, they weren't all top picks. The best example I have is probably is going to be OKC. The Oklahoma City Thunder basically drafted 3 Olympians. They got Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Russell Westbrook. James Harden was picked 3rd, Westbrook was picked 4th, and Kevin Durant was picked 2nd. Now, Kevin Durant was picked 2nd because Greg Oden was picked 1st. During this draft, the pick was Greg Oden, period. That was it. Whoever had the first pick was going to get Greg Oden, period. And the way things worked themselves out, based on injuries, buttons, different goals and situations, Greg Oden is a one-time champion with the Heat because he warmed a little bit of bench there. And Kevin Durant is, I guess, one of the best players in the world right now. So just based on the way things work themselves out in the draft, you've got teams that accidentally put together dynasties through the draft. I mean, even the Warriors. I mean, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, and Draymond Green, the core of that team, like the absolute core. The reason I say the core I'm going to leave out Durant is because those Warriors went 73-9 before losing in the finals. So that's the core of that team. None of those players are top 3 picks. So again, I believe the draft is a good way to add another product to a team or add another addition to what you're already building. But as far as just trying to just keep losing games and taking things out of the draft, it's not going to work for you. It's like this. It's like playing dominoes. So you don't have a good hand. You don't got good bones. So you got to go fishing. You got to go fishing for some bones. Now, you may get a bone out of the pile that's going to supplement your hand, maybe make things a little bit better for you, maybe help you get some buckets, maybe help you get a curtain. That's a domino scoring term. But it's not for you to keep reaching in and reaching in and reaching in and reaching in. It's just not a good strategy. And if you keep picking, then you're probably not going to win. So I'm not going to say the 76ers get what they deserve, but I'm just going to say if they do happen to win a championship by doing this whole we're going to just lose every game thing, I'm not going to respect it. I'm not going to acknowledge it. You know how kind of it's like when the Spurs won their first championship during the lockout season against the Knicks, no one really counted it. But then when the Spurs won more championships, it was like, okay, we'll count that. It's cool. We'll count. You're really, really good. It's going to be the same thing with the Sixers. If they win a championship somehow, some way with this twisted trust the process method, then the first championship, people are going to roll their eyes like, man, no, man, what, for real? Asterisk. They're going to put an asterisk by it. But if they win again, it's like, okay, I guess your players are actually good and we'll give you credit. Same thing with the New York Giants and their championships. The first time Eli Manning beat Tom Brady, they were like, nah, man, nah. Like that helmet catch, nah, bro, That don't count. But then the second time he beat Tom Brady, oh, okay, Eli, cool. Now you get 2 rings. So you don't get to have the 1. You go from 0 to 2. It's like a layup. My thinking, though, is that the Sixers are probably like, okay, well, one time we drafted Charles Barkley, and then one time we drafted Allen Iverson. So if all we got to do is just keep drafting until we get Allen Iversons and we get Charles Barkley's and maybe even a Dr. J. We'll just keep on drafting until we just get all these players that are Hall of Famers. The only problem with that method is like Dr. J, Charles Barkley, and Allen Iverson were basically across, I'm going to say, like 3 decades of drafts. So I'm not sure if it's going to quite pan out that way. Allegedly, from what they say, Ben Simmons and Markelle Fultz are the future. However, Ben Simmons was hurt last year, and now he's balling. And Markelle Fultz is hurt this year. Apparently, he's having a shoulder issue, and his shoulder hurt so bad that he basically had to change his shot. But we're just going to trust the process, like the Sixers say. And that should be the quote for everybody that's working hard. So that's what LeBron should say the next time they say, hey, why are you sitting out this game? LeBron should say, hey, I just need you to trust the process, because he is 41 points away from having 29,000 in his career. He's going to be the 7th NBA player to have 29,000 points. Also, on Friday night, he could record his 800th consecutive career game of scoring at least 10 points. The last time he scored single digits was in 2007. So everybody should trust the process. But you know what? We can't have LeBron resting, though. He's given us 29,000 points. Only 7 players in NBA history have done that, but we can't have him resting. We can't have Greg Popovich resting players either. He's only made the playoffs 20 consecutive seasons, but we can't have him resting players. Meanwhile, in Philly, though, you guys can keep drafting players, losing all the games on purpose until you guys get a high enough pick to try to win a championship in like 2027 or whatever, and we're going to trust that process. But if you're resting players, then you're going to get fined, which is strange, because if Philly keeps drafting these draft picks, like these high picks, and then they keep getting hurt, maybe the focus should be how much Philly is playing their high draft picks. Maybe Philly should get fined for not resting these draft picks. I mean, they're all future Hall of Famers, right? Like, so maybe we should just reinvestigate this and not be so focused on how much LeBron is resting, because he's not probably resting that much, because he's dropped 29,000 points since he's been drafted. And I mean, Popovich probably can't be resting players that much because he's made it to the playoffs 20 consecutive seasons. So with all that said, I'm going to hope and send the most positive energy to the basketball universe that James Harden and Porzingis don't get rested tonight. Tonight we got the Houston Rockets at the New York Knicks. The Houston Rockets are 5-3 and the Knicks are 3-3. It's going to be an incredible matchup. James Harden is, I want to say he's the best scorer in the NBA, because he can score around the basket. He can score from the 3-point line. He can score mid-range, and he can go by anybody. I know Giannis can get buckets, but James Harden does it with such skill and craft. It's masterful. Kristaps is averaging 29.3, and you got to see him play. Ever since Carmelo got off the team and there's just more ball to go around, Porzingis has been balling. He was recently asked how he felt about taking the reins of the team, and he said he's just playing his game. So that's something to see tonight. I hope you guys enjoy that game. I thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Basketball Podcast with me, Ryan Rich.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.